Hey everybody, this is feedback for the week of June 30th, 2010. My scruffly voice is not a sign that I am finally hitting puberty, but I'm told that might happen sometime soon. I am Patrick Kolbeck, and I'm joined by Matt Kyle, Abby Heppy, and Andrew Pfister. We're here, I think Adam's off on another fever dream is all I was told.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
He does that when he hits a certain exhaustion point.
his
and
post E3 walkabout clears his head.
That's a good. That's
I think we
pushing
can
good
guarantee
vision
that he
quest.
hasn't put on pants for like a week. He's been gone.
Well, once Adam like kind of slips into t-shirt mode, like when you see him putting on t-shirts, you know, like he's hit a certain stress point.
That and his like Bing Crosby hat. He puts that. You're like, oh,
I liked,
no more stress.
I liked that during the feedbacks we had at E3 that the ones where they used to highlight like feedback, like
Oh, yeah,
when they
yeah.
would run to it, was like the one where Adam's kind of scraggly sitting over here with his t-shirt on. I was like, really good. That's the one they were using to highlight the show, but it highlights what we do down here. We're gonna start off with the news this week. We've got before E3 we were talking about PlayStation Plus, and that's actually launching. You know, as of this, when you guys are seeing this will be up, and you could have at this point decided if you wanted to spend $50 a year.
You
on
got a lot of heat.
Service.
You got a lot of heat in the comments from
And
last
I didn't
week's
get a
show.
chance to read the
you did.
comments.
People are saying you're a little overboard with the FU to Sony for
About
the backload download or background downloading.
So people are excited to spend $50 a week or a month or a year. They want to spend money to do background downloading.
I think their point was that you haven't taken Microsoft to task, which you know you may have in the past. That was only one show.
I'm just going to assume I have.
I think you have.
So let's go over the main features that you're getting with PlayStation Plus. So you're getting access to games. You get one per month. It's sort of like a book of the month club, and then you're also coming along with this is sort of following in Microsoft's footsteps. They have sort of you can download full games. I saw just before we came down that Infamous is going to be one of the first games available as a download. It's $29.99, but with the PlayStation Plus service, you can download that and play the first 60 minutes. And if you like the first 60 minutes, you can just click and download it. I think that actually is pretty cool. That sounds like something I would actually practically use.
And that stays even if you cancel PlayStation Plus, right? That's one of the trial game. And if you buy the full price, you keep that?
Full game trial.
I believe that's right. And the ones that you lose access
Yes.
to are like the smaller free ones.
Yeah, PlayStation Plus members are the only ones that have a chance to try before you buy, I guess. So yeah, you'll be able to download them, but in order to play the 60-minute sort of time span, that's something you have to have PlayStation Plus for. Does that sound something that would be interesting for you to try out sort of these games without having to go to the store?
No, but that's partially because of what I do for a living.
Putting that aside, before you had access to everything you ever wanted to play.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a consumer, demos and game trials are important to me if I want to test it out for myself. But that said, I don't think I'm going to buy into this just yet.
Because we have been downloading and playing demos for free.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't see the sell for me yet. And also, I think our first comment from Devilish Boredom, PSN may be playing a little catch-up on the XBL crowd, but I've always seen the PlayStation as a console driven more by solo gaming experiences. Happy to see it getting somewhat even ground now, though. Because for me, it is single-player. I play the majority of my multiplayer games on Xbox, and PlayStation is when it's my by-myself console. So for me, the sell isn't there yet.
Well, I mean, one of the things that was brought up by a lot of people is that, where's cross-game chat? Like, that still isn't part of PlayStation Network, and Sony actually addressed that in announcing PlayStation Plus.
And we've been asking for that for how many years now?
And they mentioned it, saying, cross-game voice chat is a feature we know our passionate user base has asked for and will continue to look at as a viable offering for the PlayStation Network, which sounds in between the lines like, we wanted it. It's just not there yet.
Yeah,
Matt,
I'm going to go back and check to see if they've implemented it while we've been talking about it. That sounds really solid. No, I don't really care. Like the demo thing that's a cool thing, but at the same time, it's like I think I'd have to be pretty interested in that game to try that in the first place. Because what is that, like a 5 gig download?
Yeah, you're talking about probably a whole afternoon or overnight in order just to get access to that
play
game.
It for 60 minutes, and if I don't like it, it's like just give me a demo.
Yeah.
Demo.
Is there something that would make that compelling? Is there something that you look at Xbox Live that they don't do that something PlayStation Network could actually do?
Cross-game chat and just the ease of interface and that kind of thing. But the main problem is like the ship sailed. Like I do my multiplayer gaming, console gaming on 360 on the Xbox Live, and it's like you're never going to migrate everybody over there. You're never going to get to that point. So it's like it just feels like a little too late.
And as someone that uses both systems, I already pay a certain amount of money to Microsoft each year for that experience. And if I'm not going to be using it to its full potential on PlayStation because my friends and my whole clan all play on Xbox, I don't see myself switching.
Yeah,
and or honest, paying both. I just don't want to. I don't want to pay two fees.
Yeah, well, to be honest, Microsoft, Sony can't get away with this now because PSN's been free the whole time. But Microsoft's got you over the barrel with do you want to play online multiplayer?
They had it there day one.
You got to pay for it.
Sony's coming in a couple of years into their life cycle saying they have to generate stuff that's interesting enough, but they've already kind of given away sort of the ace card of Microsoft's deck of online play.
I'll tell you what would get me to sign up for that. What if you pay for PSN, when you buy a game, you instantly get all the pre-order bonuses?
That would be...
You love those pre-order bonuses.
Yeah.
I hate the concept of pre-order bonuses, so I always look for a way to short-circuit the system. That's more what I'm thinking.
And I think it's interesting, too, that the fact that, it sounds like cross-game voice share is probably something they wanted here at this launch, but they kind of need to get it out ahead of the fall season. I think they're going to, Microsoft has had an interesting, as they try to add things to the service that they sort of lock behind gold. But because so many people are already in it, you sort of, I get okay, one thing I have gotten upset at Microsoft about is constantly locking things behind gold that make no sense.
Like what?
Like Netflix. I already pay for a subscription to Netflix.
That's true.
Why do I have to pay for gold to get that? Even though I'm
demos.
already going to pay for gold. Yeah, or demos, or Facebook, or Twitter. Those are established free services that you're paying Microsoft a fee to just access their interface. That doesn't really... Yeah.
But then again, those were add-ons after I was already paying for that service. Yeah. And I have used them only when I had the beta trial of those, and I've never used Facebook or Twitter on my Xbox.
I haven't either.
It's absolutely useless. Netflix, all the time.
Yeah.
Everything else, not so much.
It's the concept of paying for the privilege to pay for more things, even if it's a discounted rate or stuff that should be free. It's not something I want to do.
I mean, they kind of need they need sort of a big ticket item that's hidden behind PlayStation Plus. If hypothetically, if somehow Sony got the exclusive on Star Wars: The Old Republic, and they would subsidize your beta subscription or something if you could get access to a beta like that, I think betas might be something that they can do if they can lock those up.
I thought about ideas like that a lot, actually, with Modern Warfare. I know, when I was saying earlier, I'm like, well, I pay for it because I play this game enough that it's worth something to me. But then you release a second map pack, and now I've put $30 into it, and all I can think is, God, what if I buy the limited edition, or if I buy that first map pack, I have a buy-in for the rest of it. And you give me the rest for free because I'm a dedicated player that keeps your player base up and why I would like to see models like that, but not necessarily coming in from make me pay for something I've been getting for free or pay for extra stuff on top of what I've been getting for free for several years.
Yeah, I think on the services angle they're going to have trouble considering that they've already got the online play covered, and it might be kind of gimped and not as well as Xbox Live, but you can technically play with people. So why? In terms of finding services, that's really difficult for them to find a big
we should just
hook.
combine our theories here, and you have to pay the $50 if you want cross-game chat.
I was going to say that.
Don't say these things in case they come true.
Believe me, they've thought of it.
They might have been able to pull that off at launch, but now that it's not at launch, that's probably going to be, if they could, that's going to be a tough sell later once you've already paid for this. But I mean, maybe that's because that's the thing that's already on everything else. Mm-hmm. So I can see them doing it, but I can't see people being very happy about it.
If there's one thing we've learned about gaming, it's that the gamers will yell and the gamers will complain and they'll start their online petitions and then they'll buy it. You know, it's just like
Call
Modern
of Duty
Warfare,
map packs.
Or Left 4 Dead
Modern Warfare 2 on the PC with no dedicated
Left 4 Dead
servers. It's we want those games more than we want justice much of the time.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking to that, one of the things that got announced this week was Hulu Plus, and that's something that Microsoft quickly clarified in a statement saying that, that's going to be for Xbox Live Gold members only. Not a surprise. That's what they've done with all their stuff, but that sort of speaks to the things that they're kind of trying to put behind this almost gated community but it's almost not a gated community how many people do you know that don't have a gold membership?
I don't know.
Even people that don't really play online games.
Among our friends in our circle, gold is pretty much a requirement.
I don't have any silvers on my friends list. If you're not gold, then
why?
What do I just keep track of what achievements you've gotten? You're on my list because I might play with you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the peer pressure of Xbox Live.
Well, I think unlike what PlayStation Plus doesn't have a trouble with is that it's expected on Xbox Live that even if again, like I don't really play multiplayer games, but I end up paying my $50 a year. But I like my Netflix Instant and stuff like that. I'm integrated already into that Xbox Live culture, so it's just part of that thing I pay every year.
You're paying a membership fee to be with your friends in a club.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And when we think about, I mean, you know, for one or the other, it's not that bad. $50 a year, it costs more than that to run your refrigerator for a year. So,
But once you start adding that, $50 for Xbox
then you got $50
Live,
for each
$50
system.
for
That's,
PlayStation Plus.
then you're wandering into a strange terrain.
I do like that Nintendo consistently says that we're not going to charge for our things. So who knows if they'll ever get behind something this ambitious?
Yeah,
but
well, if my online experiences for the Wii indicate that that's a wise move.
Yeah, no, that's because as you were saying that, I'm like, yeah, and I've played with my friends on the Wii when?
I can't remember the last time I actually.
Monster
Only if
Monster
they're
Hunter
sitting
Tri,
next to me
I
on the
played.
couch, but aside from that, I never use it because it was I was like friend codes.
But I tried. Did you have to do the sort of crazy GIMP setup that a lot of people did of turning on your Xbox?
Yes, we played
Okay.
an Xbox Live Party.
Yes.
And then we turned on the Wii, which is honestly the only viable way we found.
It's a
to
fairly
make it
optimal
work.
setup.
Yeah.
Once it works,
It
it
is.
works. But it is sort of ridiculous.
That or like a Ventrilo setup if your PC is close enough, one or the other. It really feels stupid, but I mean it works.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that has gotten really excited about what Sony is doing is with these HD collections, or at least now. I don't know if you guys seen the box art for the Sly collection, but it has another extra thing on the box, but it says HD collections, which
Plural.
implies that this is something they're going to be doing pretty regularly. And Sony.
Eco.
Yeah.
Sony talked to IGN saying that they were very happy with how the God of War collection sold. They're excited about the Sly collection, and said that they're investigating, which is whatever that means, but investigating doing more of these HD collections. And we've seen 3 or 4 times now the Team Eco collection pop up on different
that has to be
websites.
happening.
It's so
I just
obvious.
call- That
It's
is just
too-
absolutely happening.
Like you can't look at Shadow of the Colossus and not think, wow, if this was on a system that could handle it, it would be amazing.
Oh, my God.
And the
Yep.
other thing I'm guessing is that I can't, I'm not a big proponent of 3D, but if I would play Shadow of the Colossus in 3D.
Yeah. Having those big creatures.
I don't know
think.
if that's possible, like given like what the assets they have to work with. I don't know how that process goes, but if they can make Sly 3 into 3D, you make Shadow of the Colossus into 3 just so once I can look up and see how far they go up.
Even if it wasn't all the time, but I could see certain moments of Shadow of the Colossus really working in terms of amplifying
When you
that.
first see it, when you first
when
get
they
there.
introduce each of the
absolutely.
different beasts. But I mean, is that like what other games would you like to see them sort of port over?
Like as far as Sony stuff,
Because are they?
Yeah, Sony.
Are we
proper,
talking
'cause
about
I
Sony
could-
first party? Because
I would
it
have to
There's a
guess
lot of
so.
third-party
Yeah.
ones.
I will say that one of the things that I've heard from various third parties I've talked to who are excited about this is that the PS2 is a machine that third parties especially hacked the crap out of to work to get some games to work. I heard of one trick where once the game booted, the memory that was used allocated to the memory card, they would pull out when it wasn't being used to actually save and use that during the game. So that sort of stuff isn't easy to just go in and swap. So
Right.
it really comes down to first-party stuff where they may have a better handle on the hardware, but it does really kind of require going in and recoding a lot of these games. It's not as simple as just upresing them.
well, I would love to see. This is probably never going to happen, but I would love to see Mark of Kree and Rise of the Kasai.
We had one user, Hezben Taleth. Close enough. I'd love to see the Mark of Kree and Rise of the Kasai.
Yeah.
I consider them 2 of the most underrated games of the PS2 era.
Yeah,
2
I
games
just
I never
think that would
played.
work.
Yeah, that kind of goes in with the Sly thing. Where, like, Sly is really good, but a lot of people didn't play it, so this would be a good
Well,
reintroduction to
that's
that
why I
kind of thing.
imagine that almost everything that they're going to be doing collections of have a game in that franchise coming out in a relatively short
Or it's a
period of
great
time.
way to reintroduce something that, like, that's almost a pitch to the public again. Of, would this resonate now a little bit more? Does this get the word of mouth? Did it miss out on the PS2 era? And could sort of like reboot certain things.
Would like Twisted Metal get
I mean,
collection?
Twisted Metal
That'd be
Black
interesting.
Twisted Metal Black was a great looking game, and considering that it seems like with the new Twisted Metal they're going in, I think Jaffe said they're going in sort of a PG-13 direction,
A
as
lighter
opposed to
direction,
the
yeah.
R direction that Black went in. Like, I'd love to see them just
Yeah.
kind of clean that up, so you still get that experience if you want it.
I'm just looking to games that are coming out and saying, well, probably that one, because then you have your obvious tie-in and obvious way to market it, and we'll see.
Be interesting to do if they did like a collection of like forgotten PS2 games. Like who played Primal?
I played Primal.
Like,
I
that
did.
was-
I still have a
That was
copy.
better than people gave it. No one played
Who
Primal.
developed it?
Yeah.
That was one of the European studios.
Yeah,
That was a
right?
European
That was
studio.
good.
It had I can't remember his name now, but it was the guy who played Jakar on Babylon 5. He He was playing the gargoyle. It was great voice acting. It was an interesting world. It just didn't hook with anybody.
I could see that, like, one of the, I mean,
Like that, I'm sure there's, games I'm not thinking
you could
about.
shove like 5 or 6 just like sort of games that people were like sort of said were good, but you never really got around to playing, and just update those for HD and maybe make those available like downloadable on PSN.
I was gonna say downloadable would be the way to go with most of those. I
and
think.
of course, Metal Gear.
Yeah.
Would be, I mean, I don't know if the Konami be willing to do that or Kojima Productions would be willing to do that, but that would be I think that would sell.
That came up a lot in the comments
I think
for the news
sell.
story. Metal Gear, Kingdom Hearts came up a lot.
Ooh, Kingdom Hearts
Yeah,
would be good.
maybe that's what they're waiting for Kingdom Hearts 3 on.
And San Andreas, which I think would be pretty
Because I'm
cool.
someone that never got into Grand Theft Auto till 4, but I always heard I played a little bit of 3. And
San
that kinda,
Andreas is so much fun.
Yeah.
San Andreas is still my favorite.
Yeah.
I bet Vice City would look really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because it's got that 80s aesthetic. One of the others, Big Dog Ice, who we're gonna call Big Dog Ice Fat and Dope. Said if Kami and Beautiful Joe would be awesome. Also, the Jack and Dexter collection would be sweet. Aside from the Team Eco collection.
You got to figure the Jack and
Yeah.
Dexter and the Ratchet, maybe.
Yeah.
The Ratchet games.
Yeah, I mean, all those games have sort of had like a very interesting aesthetic during the PS2 era. Where, like, I don't know. I'm someone that really fought against Sony removing backwards compatibility from all the different PS3s as they were sort of revising the hardware, but cannot for the life of me tell you the last time I actually put a PS2 game in my PS3. Like, have any of you done that?
Yeah.
I have.
2 days ago, I tried to play Killzone 1 again.
How did that go?
Not so much.
No? Kind of wish it didn't have backwards compatibility?
No, because I still, I still play some stuff now and again. It's nice to be able to play Shadow of the Colossus and not swap out all the cables. But it just doesn't. I don't. A lot of that stuff didn't age too well.
Yeah.
And you got to tweak the settings to make it so it's not squished or weird or something. It's better than the Xbox backwards compatibility, definitely.
Which is frequently broken,
Yes.
even if it is
I
compatible.
found so many games that I just haven't been able to. Like, I was excited when Assault on Dark Athena came out because it had Escape from Butcher Bay. And that was one of the games that just didn't work with backwards compatibility. There's a lot. I have a huge collection of just old Xbox games. And I think all the ones that I want to play don't work. And all the ones that I don't care about anymore do.
One that I would like to see, and this also act as a phenomenal transition, is Beyond Good and Evil would look really, really good.
Yeah.
Sort of just like because it already still looks great, like when backwards compatibility, but like having like a 720p because that art aesthetic like will never not look really great. And if that happens, it would be a phenomenal lead-in to. We heard that Beyond Good and Evil 2 maybe is still.
We've talked about this before. You still don't believe it?
I still don't believe it.
That's why I put it in just to reconfirm what we all believe.
That's the only news we have. Is it? It's probably
Yeah,
still
I
being
mean,
made.
Eurogamer picked up on apparently Michelle Ancel was at the Montpellier Games conference, and someone managed to nail him in a corner and ask him if it was still coming. I don't know why Ubisoft themselves can't just say this, and why we have to hear little tidbits like from Ansel. But he said that it will take time. Please have patience. I'm sorry.
I get the impression that is just a labor of love for this, like just probably like this small group of. It's almost like they're working
4 or
on it
5 people.
after hours.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I mean, he said Beyond Good and Evil 2 is not abandoned. It's an ongoing project, and we hope to do it in a way using these new tools. That's to say, making a 3D game with very few people. So maybe it is true by
3D.
choice or just because he has to, is making this game with a handful of people while also sort of doing other things on the side. And if that means we get stuff like Rayman HD episodic,
Cool.
Cool.
I'm okay with that. But I still don't believe this.
well,
I still don't
believe it
believe it's
more.
coming out.
well, I think that's a defense mechanism.
Yeah, just so I'm not constantly disappointed.
Yes.
I believe.
I'm
You
the
can say
same way.
when, so you can draw
Yeah.
this out over years.
true.
You can
and
say
years.
I believe that it still exists
Yes.
and you can still believe that it's not coming out. Those two
Okay.
are not mutually exclusive.
True.
I'm gonna sign up for that one.
Right.
It's Duke Nukem theory.
Well, I hope. Yeah. So maybe it's going to get embroiled in a lawsuit.
No,
Maybe.
probably, who knows? We've got years to think about.
Exactly. Got plenty of time to speculate and to get hopeful. Well, then moving on to our game of the week, one that Matt Kyle reviewed, Transformers War for Cybertron. Is this finally the Transformers game that we've all been waiting for?
Is it the Transformers game that you've been waiting for, Transformers Superfan?
Because you
No.
play all of them.
You should set this
Because-
up by saying how many Transformers action figures you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, just set up the Transformer fandom.
Okay, now I have a lot fewer because I gave a lot of them
But-
away in the last few months.
but-
But I used to be in the 400 or 500 range. Wow. I loved them since I was a kid, and like it was just one of those things where I was a Star Wars kid, and then I saw Transformers, and like it was over. Like the Star Wars thing was over. It was just Transformers from then on. And so no, the game I'm waiting for would play like similar to War for Cybertron, but it would all be cell shaded based on episodes of the original cartoon, and you would play through each. You could play either side through each cartoon episode, and for instance, play as Megatron and the Decepticons and do things right, and not fumble up your stupid harebrained. We're going to build a giant purple griffin and invade a Middle Eastern country scheme for some reason. So that would be my ideal. But this is pretty good. This is very G1 based.
Yeah, this is pretty good.
This is all right.
So this is developed by High Moon Studios, a company that the last game was the Bourne Supremacy,
Born Conspiracy.
Born Conspiracy, which was looked really nice but didn't quite hit the mark.
Good. I mean, you know, could be argued it was better than a Bourne game
should
probably
be,
have been. You know, and no, I think this is their best game. They also did Dark Watch. I think this is probably their best game so far. They really, I think the main area of praise is number one, the courage to go for Activision to do something like original and different with this license.
Not linked to the movies.
Finally, and to link it so strongly to G1. Just in the Generation 1, for those who don't know, that G1 means Generation 1, which is the original Transformers from the 80s. And there have been so many revamps and recontinuities since then that like G1 just refers to the originals that people our age remember. Yeah. And there's tons of references through this whole game. I mean, it's not a prequel to the cartoon. It's a new continuity, but there's a lot of nods to things. You've got Peter Cullen, the original Optimus Prime, doing the voice of Prime. And this one, you've got a lot of nods to Soundwave sounds like himself, that kind of thing. A lot of little origin things, which are great. And the other thing they nailed is the controls. I think are what Transformers should probably control like from now on.
It feels yeah, it's like you're fast, you can do things, but it still is
you have that power,
clunky enough.
The clunky power.
Every time you pull off the melee attack, like you
Yeah.
feel like a badass when you clonk
And it is
against
so,
that
it is
guy.
so
Yeah.
slick, just transforming into the vehicle, then back into the
Yeah.
transport, and then using the melee attack. And like,
Because
it's so good.
I remember every time I met with them, it's like, you know, a lot of other Transformers games, like the cooldown mechanism is, you know, usually tied to transforming, or transforming is like in a different level, and they said they didn't want to limit you on that, and I think that makes for a great amount of variety in the combat by just it wouldn't make sense to transform into a tank right now, but you can.
I want to.
You shouldn't be flying right now because you're in a closed space, but why not?
Well, we use it a lot when we were playing Escalation, just because like sometimes that's the best way to wipe everybody out right away, and it's
So
a great source of
what is
extra ammo.
escalation mode?
It's like the horde mode for Transformers.
Waves.
And so you just have waves of enemies coming in, and
But there's also a Counter-Strike element to it in that
Yes.
like power-ups and ammo and stuff don't drop. That you earn points every time you kill something, and you have to spend those points at little kiosks to get ammo and health and weaponry, and open new doors that lead to more kiosks that sell better weaponry and that kind of thing. And and the other thing when we were playing last night, I noticed was like they did a good job with the hitboxes on the character models, because there were a couple times everyone died but me, and the trick is you have to, if you finish the wave, everybody gets to come back to life, just like Gears of War. And so there's things where I play as RC, the girl. Because she's got cloaking, and like she turns into a fast car, and it's awesome.
And it's fantastic to watch, because like he's getting hit by everybody and then disappears.
And stuff. And there were times when like someone would shoot like a missile at me, and like I'm like, oh, gotta go, and like I'd hit transform out of the car mode, and she does like this flip, and I saw a couple times the missile actually went kind of like under her leg, between her arm and her leg, like that, and it was like, oh, so you didn't just put a big block of robot in transforming animation, you actually like mapped all this to the actual character. So how I'm doing that and how I angle her when she kind of flips when she transforms like matters. Like I can dodge stuff like that.
There'd be a slow-mo moment in a movie.
Yes.
The Bay.
And as soon as I finish, because I'm almost done the single-player campaign, and I unlock her, I'm going to be playing as her.
Well, we'll see who gets to that one first.
When I was the only one left after everybody died, I'm Optimus Prime, and like I'm like I can't hide. I'm just going to sit here and try to shoot as many things
Cloaking
until I die.
is key. And the other thing is like there was a little consternation in the fan base over the pre-order characters in this, which were Shockwave, Jazz, and Demolishor. And because everyone wants Shockwave and Jazz.
Demolishor is awesome.
Demolishor, it turns out to be the best character of the three, because in Escalation he has Ammo Matrix. He's the only character in Escalation with Ammo Matrix, which you just throw that down and you regenerate ammo automatically, and everybody gets a damage boost while they're standing near it. which, since you have to pay for ammo, saves everybody on the team money.
It's so nice.
I was surprised. I was playing with you guys last night. It was the first time playing. I was surprised how conservative you need to be with the ammo and how accurate you need to be, because you can run through your ammo really quick, and then you're kind of screwed if you can't get to a replot or a refill.
Well, we felt bad because we'd been playing for a couple hours before you stepped in, and then you were like thrown into it. We're like, go over here.
I'm Bumblebee.
Yeah. And
Where do I go?
You were just excited that you were a robot.
Yeah.
Well, and I think
I'm a car now.
I think the way that you guys are speaking this speaks to what Sheo Dagana said was, what a pleasant surprise the multiplayer is. They meld some of the best options from other shooter games together so well that I don't even care that it's really nothing new. I even forget while playing that it's a Transformers game while I'm playing multiplayer.
He makes a really good point that they meld some of the best options from other shooter games, because they really do. There's definite elements that I see when I play Call of Duty. There's definitely. I mean, we're seeing the other mode. I wouldn't say the modes are. Well, the modes are similar, I guess, but it's more how you level up and how you customize your character and the points that you get when you... I unfortunately, I'm not going to play the multiplayer until that patch, which may be up by the time this goes to
What's the
internet.
issue?
The issue is if the host quits or loses connection, everyone gets booted. And right now, if that happens, you lose all the XP you gained in that match.
And I lost so
And we were
much.
doing real well in one match of Conquest. We probably lost almost 3,000 XP because somebody got their DSL pulled or something.
So how does the XP system work in this versus something like a Battlefield or a Call of Duty?
It's almost identical.
It's basically the same.
And they give you, it's great because they give you tons of stuff, tons of bonuses for everything. Like sometimes you'll kill one person and you'll get the kill points, but you'll get points for killing him because he's the last guy who killed you, and you'll get points because you've killed him twice in a row.
Yeah,
and
there are a lot of
and
pop-ups.
points for killing him in a conquest zone, and when your life was low. I mean,
They just came up with a million ways to reward you, even if you were just in a regular battle.
There have been a couple times when the bonuses for a kill or whatever have been popping up almost
After you
30 seconds later. It's still going. So it's very rewarding in that sense, especially if you play some of the lesser played modes. Team Deathmatch is not the most rewarding in XP style. You play the Conquest, Battlefield style, take the point modes, and you rack up almost a level every 2 games.
And they're really fun. It's really fast paced, and you're constantly in the action. I mean, it's not
Respawn time was 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And of course, it's you don't have to walk to get back to the action because you can turn into a jet. It's perfect. It's fantastic.
I mean, it seems like being able to have, in most games, it's vehicle combat and then, soldier combat, and this you have both that you can change in on the fly, and that seems like it would really change the dynamic quite a bit as you're playing.
And it leads to cool things. I mean, last night or 2 nights ago, I was playing as the jet, as scientist class as the jet, and I was going for the point, and I flew. I said, let's just see if I can fly through this window, and I did. So I flew through this little narrow window, transformed, and this giant soldier guy that was guarding the point just hits me in the face with a mace and kills me. But it was it was awesome. It was a great moment.
cool.
I mean, one of the things is that in addition to the multiplayer being really good, the single player campaign, while it seems is a little uneven, is actually pretty
It's
impressive.
better than you think. It's divided into 2. The first half is the Decepticons. The second half is the Autobots. You can start as the Autobots if you want, but the Autobot
You can
campaign
play
follows.
in any order, but you're supposed to play.
You should play
Decepticon
Decepticons, then Autobot, and you should also do that because the Decepticon campaign is actually kind of dull for most of it.
The first couple stages are also, if you squinted, you might not know it was a Transformers game.
It's a metal planet,
very dark and metal. Until you get to sort of the outdoor sort of environment.
The
so
Autobot
the
campaign is
Decepticons
much more
is metal.
varied.
Yeah.
Autobot campaign. I mean, you're in that city, but you also go to this prison camp kind of Transformers Auschwitz place, and you have it's
really
dark. It's raining sulfur and everything.
When
it's
he
horrible.
described it to me like that, it was like, really? And then I got in, I'm like, well,
Yeah,
pretty much.
that's I mean, they're just smelting them off to kill them all. They march them in and say, "Who are you?" Nobody. Boom. Yeah, it's
and it's kind
dark.
of so dark for a minute that without spoiling too much of it, there's a point where Optimus Prime says something like, "Oh well, it'll just act as a distraction," and I'm like, "Damn, Optimus Prime, that's cold." And and he redeems himself later.
Yeah.
But there are a couple moments in that where it gets pretty dark, which is awesome. But I was a little surprised. I didn't expect it to be quite so.
Yeah, I played through maybe an hour of the Autobot campaign, and I was surprised too. There were bodies, robot bodies everywhere. This was a fully fledged war zone.
And there's animations where if you headshot a guy with a shotgun, you'll liquefy his entire head and upper torso, and they're just kind of staggered. I mean, I mean, they're robots, but it's kind of gory.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
or
the
like-
animations are so nice, like all the little moving parts on all the characters.
I mean, there was one time where, like, we had blown open a door, and there were clearly guards standing behind it, and the guards were, like, crawling away, like, pieces of them have fallen off, and then you can just boot them.
Yeah,
and
put them down.
And, like, I feel like this feels a little weird even though I'm destroying robots.
They really, like, seem to understand. It's like, these are giant robots that are trying... They got the awesome down. There's the scene where you run into Ironhide for the first time and he casually rips a Decepticon in half and throws him away. It's like, yeah, these guys are brutal warriors. Michael Bay's movies get that a little bit in the sense that, like, Prime's decapitating people and all
Jazz
that.
got ripped in half.
Jazz gets ripped in half and Prime jumps on the "give me your face" kind of thing. Which is silly, but like, I like this angle of like, yeah, it's a war.
Yeah.
Well, and I think Tumbleweed 64 hits on kind of what we're all talking about. Is finally game developers using the licensed titles and making games that people want to play. I don't want to play the movie I just saw. I know how it's going to end. I want to play the game that should have been a movie.
And the compliment that I gave it that I told Matt while we were playing the first time is I actually feel when I'm playing it like, man, if I was like 6 again and with my Transformers toys, because I had a couple and differently,
You might not have had 400.
They would have been shooting the dromedary from My Little Pony and the Midge doll, because I wasn't allowed to have the really girly stuff. It was just the almost girly stuff. So, but I felt like I was a kid playing with toys for a minute. Like I had that kind of joyous, like, and this is what I would say, and I'd be like, Matt, I'm destructive. I just felt like I was a little kid playing with toys again for a second.
Where
and
my
I think
couch
that's
isn't serving as the planet Cybertron anymore. Actually playing with my toys on Cybertron.
Matt and I aren't sitting there with, well, not that we do that, just saying.
We totally
but
don't do that.
No. So, shut up. We have a lot of toys on our desks. But yeah, that's how I felt. And that was such a great feeling.
Well, I think it's a really, a compliment, as much as Activision gets maligned, for this sort of their corporate practices, they clearly gave High Moon 2 full years to make the Transformers game they wanted, and Hasbro let them, because they chose a piece of fiction that Michael Bay wasn't touching, and that wasn't being touched by any of the other Transformers properties, they pretty much just let them go wild. And you can tell they loved the fiction and went crazy with it.
Yeah, this is Knights of the Old Republic style
Yeah,
continuity.
yeah.
I mean, it's like you just take it far enough back that it doesn't relate to anything, and you can do whatever you want. It's great.
Yeah, I hope we see more of that. I mean, clearly we're probably going to see another
And the other-
Transformers 3 game. But
Well, I think the other licensed title, like the flip side, not really the same subject matter, but Toy Story 3, in a similar way, it's like there's a licensed game that made something out of itself.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think it's all the way there yet. Like, I definitely found some, problems with it. I was playing through, and again, because I don't think they didn't want to give away anything that was in the movie for it. So the story levels don't make a lot of sense once you've seen the movie, but they almost do. You're like, oh, I get where you were going, but the whole toy box mode and that, I mean, I seriously, I played the hell out of that,
But
and it
you're
was
getting
really
there.
fun. And they were very, very, very close to
even just to have
super
us
nailing it.
talking about
Right.
it and not like disparagingly talking about the new Toy Story video game is like miles ahead of where
I started
like,
fiending for it. I'm like, I can't wait to go home and play Toy Story today. Like,
yeah, everyone's been talking because the toy box mode you can sort of create
So much
your own
fun.
games and
Yep.
stuff like that, right?
Well, it's kind of like a very, very basic open world. So you're kind of creating your town, and you can customize it however you want. And you're going on these missions, and most of them take like 30 seconds to a minute, but there's a bajillion of them, and they're all just kind of fun and clever, and it has all the characters, and there's just it's just got a nice feel to it. It's pleasant.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if that continues going forward because it should because it's not like I don't want to play a good Toy Story game or a really good Transformers game. Like, we all want to play those. It's just a matter of giving good studios, and even the studios that are good studios, the studios that get tasked with making these games, get unrealistic deadlines and no
Yeah.
budget to put together
And the
something.
thing that ties the two together is that, like, don't necessarily tie it to the movie that's come, no,
Right.
that's not what we want. I mean, that's why story mode is kind of the weaker link in Toy Story. And that's why I think with them going away from what the movies have destroyed in the past few years, going back to something that, as Matt said, is before the timeline that anybody really remembers, so you can have a lot of fun and play with it.
But really, the big thing for War for Cybertron, I think, is take that engine, take the Unreal Engine, take that control scheme, and just use that as the template for Transformers 3, the game, and just make some interesting situations out of it.
Yeah.
Like, don't you don't have to reinvent the wheel on these licensed games all the time because they've been trying to, Transformers, the first movie game, the second movie game, they're trying different things.
They weren't horrible.
They weren't horrible,
just
but they were
clearly needed more time,
more time,
or better template.
more direction, more. But here you've got, I think, High Moon has nailed what a Transformer should feel like when you play a game with one in it. So just take that and reskin it as
We're
Transformers
telling
3.
you to
just
copy
do it
and
again.
paste this because we'll play more of this.
Yeah, I would totally play, and I hope they do another War for Cybertron game. I hope they, I don't know how this is selling. There's no indication of that yet. I mean, there's a lot of people online, which is good.
Yeah, the buzz is really good. I mean, hopefully, at the end of the day, they're always going to make something based on the movie, and more often than not, that's going to be tied to the movie's sort of timeline in terms of when it's released. But if nothing else, that we get alternating years on that sort of thing. It's like maybe Activision can get around to getting us a good Bond game one of these days too.
And go nuts. Give me some Beast Wars.
Ooh, okay, where are my
A
Dinobots?
lot of people want Beast Wars.
Where are my Dinobots?
Dinobots. I don't know.
No Dinobots.
I would save the Dinobots for the sequel. War for Cybertron 2. That's what I would say.
I've also be like, because
Dinobots, I don't think are going to be in the third movie.
has anything ever
Somehow doubt that. Yeah.
anything ever explored the fiction? Because they always talk about how and it's referenced in War for Cybertron, where before that they were all friends.
Yeah.
Like, why did they become enemies?
They don't. Well, that's
Why
kind of
can't
my
they-
problem with War for Cybertron is they never explain how the war started.
Because they say like, we used to be brothers. Well, what happened, man?
Yeah, what was that about? And again,
And they
it's
also
like
imply that wars were going on for millions of years. Like, man, that's a boring war.
The other thing, that was the other thing. Megatron.
somebody win already. God.
Megatron doesn't seem like a very charismatic leader. Like I listened to some of the VO in the game, and he's like, that's right, give up your freedom and choice. And I'm like, aren't the other Decepticons going? Well, wait, they get freedom and choice? Like I'm out of here. Like screw it, man.
Well, that's kind of the thing of like, there's different takes on the Transformers fiction, and sometimes the Decepticons are actually actively evil, like in that, like that, where they're like we will rule you and oppress you, and we actually said the word oppress, and you're like, no one thinks they're evil. Everyone thinks they're doing the right thing. So there's the takes on, G1 Megatron to some degree was like that. He thought he was doing the right thing for the Transformers and for Cybertron. Beast Wars Megatron had that same kind of thing. He was a schemer, but he had his goal in mind, and he knew what he was doing wasn't very nice, but he thought it was for the overall good of what he cared about. When you get like something where like War for Cybertron Megatron is to be like your freedom is gone. Thank me for it. You're like, that's not
No.
that's not good propaganda.
And Matt and I have our last note on the
yes.
God, this is so
Our
we're-
node
note. There's one
Is
of the
this a new section
multiplayer
of
nodes.
feedback?
There's one of the
Node notes.
How I can't stop saying nodes. One of the multiplayer modes, not nodes. You have to capture a node, and the VO is just like, you've captured the node. The node has been lost. Now
It's
we're on
just
the
Peter
node.
Cullen
And it's
over
just,
to node acquired, node control,
acquired, node
Decepticons
control.
control the node,
Decepticons control the
node
node.
contested, new node available, node has moved, and you're like, we're like, did you play this with the sound on? Because it's really annoying.
Yeah.
Like,
Over
it sounds
and
like
over.
it's kind of amazing for the first time.
it's kind of amazing to hear Peter Cullen just constantly
Node.
nonstop talk about nodes, but after a while you're like, dude, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm tired of your voice.
Yeah.
Well,
Peter Cullen's my top 3 childhood voices.
Oh, he's
James Earl
awesome.
Jones, number 1. Bob Uecker, voice of the Milwaukee Brewers, number 2. And Peter Cullen.
it's quite
If we
a
could get those guys together and
diverse-
do a baseball game,
Yep.
that would be
That would be-
amazing.
Yeah, if you get Optimus
Ball
Prime.
dropped. Ball thrown to first.
You'd buy that DLC.
I
Oh,
would.
yeah.
I totally would.
Or get-
Peter
or-
Cullen announcing the MLB The Show. Think about it, Sony.
or if Peter Cullen could be my GPS.
Peter Cut, totally.
They could probably make that happen.
I have a feeling
It might actually
someone must be
already
thinking about
exist.
that.
Yeah.
Maybe Tom already did that. I don't know.
You'll want to turn left now.
Till all are one. You're like, no, okay. How about just till I get there? I don't know.
Or, yeah, I want Starscream be my GPS. Just
that's what I was
right. Well, either way, it sounds like if you are a Transformers fan, or even if you aren't that big of a Transformers fan, that War for Cybertron, thumbs up. You get what, 4 out of 5?
4 out of 5.
Yay!
Give me
Transformers
a
game.
Give me
Now
a more
if we can
interesting
just-
campaign next time, and you might have a shot at the big one.
Ooh.
Now if we can just get
Matt
a good
Kyle.
My Little Pony game.
Using the same
Is
engine.
that the trifecta? Toy Story, Transformers.
Well, they'd have to have guns.
My Little Pony.
Yeah, it'd be really dark, My
Yeah,
Little
it'd
Pony.
be really dark My Little Pony game.
Transformers
Wait till you get to the
versus-
My Little Pony Holocaust.
Transformers versus My Little Pony.
The trifecta is Transformers versus Gundam Dynasty Warriors.
Yeah.
We gotta stop coming up with ideas that make us want to spend money. All right, well, why don't we move on to our question of the week? With something we kind of already touched on. It's come from YAMIKARASU.
YAMIKARASU.
The ED press conference this year, along with John Riccatello, EA CEO, Comments during interviews about EA's future led to the concept of publishers creating services rather than games. The continued expansions of Xbox Live and PSN services, along with Movement Connect, fit that ideal as well. My question is, do you see the services of XBL and PSN, to a lesser extent Nintendo's and perhaps Steam, continuing to expand in a competitive, nearly identical fashion, or do you see all the services forking sharply with each other, mastering a particular facet of entertainment? Do you see all these overtaking the games as the higher platforms, relegating games to their own separate showings at future E3s and TGSs? I guess sort of the broader idea is sort of, Microsoft and Sony always talk about, or sort of in these machines as a Trojan horse, as a media device, as opposed to, games are what gets the Xbox and PlayStation in your home, and then you buy the movies and the TV shows and all that stuff. I mean, the way we talk about it, we'd all be happy to do those things.
Well, for years, wasn't that the set-top box was like kind of the holy grail, and people trying to get that in, and then they finally did it, and they did it by not talking about it for a couple years after we'd already bought them all.
By just secretly integrating it into what do you like.
Well, end up making it like, it's almost like, it's hard to sell me on the idea of that I'd be interested in Netflix instant streaming on the 360 if you're trying to sell me the 360 on the back of that. But since I already have that system, and it just one day it popped up on my dashboard and I tried it, I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Right.
It's like you got to get it in the people's hands.
Yeah, and it also speaks to sort of the Steam part of it. I think is something that we saw EA saying, but I thought we would have seen a little more of that from all the platform holders and publishers. The idea of like games as a service. Valve's doing it and EA's doing it, but the idea of once they've hooked you into one thing, rewarding you for being a loyal customer. And it's not like EA's Gun Club seems like an interesting way to do that. It's a little bit of a bummer that beta tests and stuff like that are going to be tied to that, but at the same time, I get it is, they are rewarding the loyal fans, and that must be
rewarding you for doing something they already do.
Yeah, you're just going online and registering your game and then getting connected. So it's a little bummer for me when I might want to dabble in some beta test, but if I loved EA shooters, like that's a cool way to sort of reward me for that.
Well, Andrew, what do you think about the ESPN thing with 360? As probably the biggest sports fan in the room,
it's appealing to some extent. Where, well, first of all, I have Time Warner, and I can't use it, but in concept, it's great for people who want to kind of like get away from the DirecTV and stuff. But it's still missing a lot of the top tier sports because it's everything that's on ESPN3 is stuff that you can't see on ESPN on ESPN2. So you get the top tier NCAA football, you get NBA basketball maybe, and ESPN3 is great for someone like Sterling who watches soccer all the time and all like the smaller niche stuff, but it's dedicated to that. I want my top tier live sports on Saturdays and Sundays, and it's good to have ESPN3 kind of in the background as like a backup if I can't watch like MLS for some reason, but it needs to be NFL football.
Yeah, I mean, one of the other things that this question speaks to is that I think one of the things that frustrated people a lot this year, especially with Microsoft's press conference, was so much focus on Kinect, and if you put that against what Nintendo did, which was just hardcore game. No Wii Fit, no Wii Music 2, none of that stuff.
Backwards universe.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll alternate years.
I mean, because I can't imagine, given the backlash that Microsoft got, that next year wouldn't be much more tightly focused on getting those core guys excited. Because once Kinect's out in the wild, you don't need E3 for that stuff.
Well, Nintendo kind of has like a built-in advantage with that, and that's why they did it, because they have those exclusives. With PS3 and 360, you're seeing a lot more multi-platform stuff. Everyone has most of that stuff. So that's why you get the Kinects and the moves, like the unique stuff that you try to sell, because the games are already going to be there. So you need something to be like, okay, I need 360, not because of the games, but because of the services that are currently available.
Well, and I think people also do forget that how many Nintendo press conferences we all sat through / suffered through when you get things like at the end, oh, here's Miyamoto coming out to show his big new IP. And it was Wii Fit. Again, granted, an incredible piece of software, but maybe not so much with Wii Music. No. But it's as excited as I get around for how Nintendo performed this year, like there were a whole lot of other years where they did the same strategy that Microsoft and Sony are doing, which is they've got those core consumers. They're going to sit and watch those press conferences, and they're going to push this stuff down your throat, whether you like it or not.
It's starting a new cycle because we don't have a new console this year, really. I mean, save 3DS, which also, we were watching movie trailers and stuff on. So there's another expansion of, our home entertainment on our console or on our handheld console. But Yeah, I think we're in for another year probably of, press conferences that showcase all of the, little things and third party waiting to see if everything sells or not that they do for it, because that'll be, for as excited as everybody was to develop for the Wii, all of a sudden, a year later, people were realizing that even though they'd put all of their resources into making, Wii games, third party at least, none of them were selling. And that's what I can't wait to see what happens with this. Obviously, I want games to sell,
right?
Because it's good for all of us. However, I just can't wait to see how third party fares with both of those.
Well, as we kind of wrap up, and now we're kind of at the tail end of talking about E3. Looking back on it, what do you guys expect? Looking at your crystal ball, like a year from now, Matt, what do you expect from E3 next year?
I think that all hinges on what happens with the Move and the Kinect. Yep. If they sell well, you'll see a sequel, a direct sequel. If they don't do well, I think you're going to see some backpedaling. I think you're going to see Microsoft, because one of the reasons I think Microsoft was soft this year was because their only thing they had in addition to the Kinect was Gears, Halo, Fable.
A lot of iterative sequels.
Right,
yeah.
But also because Microsoft over the past few years has had a real obsession with only showing things that are coming out this year. And the Nintendo and Sony were not averse to that this year. Like almost everything they showed that was really interesting outside of the Move was 2011.
All next year.
And so maybe next year we'll see Microsoft kind of step up to trying to balance out their Kinect push with here's cool stuff that's coming out, and even if it's not this year, look, we haven't forgotten.
I really thought they would have changed that this year. I was kind of expecting them to go outside.
I think they may have been expecting the reception to be a little warmer.
Yeah, that's very possible. But I
certainly was.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to be that dismal, really.
Yeah.
Bunch of skeptical game writers.
And maybe we're wrong. What did we do when the Wii? We made fun of the Wii's name. We made fun of no one's going to want to do that. You look like an idiot when you play the Wii Sports thing. And what happened? It blew up. Who knows?
But it's all we could perceive is what they presented to us at 3,
right.
Which kind of stumbled out of the gate. Again, as Microsoft would probably tell us, the real judge is the people that they marketed to in the fall, not so much.
The first rule of being a hardcore fan of something is realizing that you no longer matter.
Yep.
Because they always have you.
It's it's not for us.
It's not for us.
Yeah. Is there any other big takeaways, Andrew, that you think for E3 next year?
For E3 next year, just going back to what Matt said, if Kinect doesn't work, Microsoft will be the first to start talking about new hardware. They'll lead, and then Sony will follow, not exactly at E3, but later than that.
And then they'll all ride the 3D bandwagon. That'll be interesting to see if that, because I'm wondering, how do you measure that? How do you measure how many people are playing Killzone 3 in 3D? Is there a way for them to do that?
They'd be smart to have that as sort of
built in,
as a toggle
that
that you'd be able to track the metrics of that, because otherwise, and also how long are people using? Are people just turning it on, playing it for a stage, and then finishing the rest of the game with it off?
That's got to be built in.
Yeah. Well, lots of more to talk about as we get down that road. But Matt, Abby, Andrew, thank you for your time. We'll see if my voice stays like this going forward, but I'm not a big fan of it.
You're growing up.
You're growing up? Really?
Yeah.
Not maturing, but
No, you're getting older.
up. All right. Well, thanks guys for joining us, and then we'll see you guys online at g4tv.com.
Next week, Patrick will have a beard.
Ooh, don't count on that.
Do you play World of Warcraft or one of its 1,000 clones? Do you know what a mob or pug is? Then you'll want to make sure to check out the MMO Report. It gives you all the massively multiplayer online news you could want in a neat little package named Casey Schreiner. Check out all new episodes every Thursday over at g4tv.com/MMO. You're welcome.